Hello, Midnight Readers. Today we are jumping into our new read, Fated Fiancee. It is an enemies to lovers romance. So buckle up, hold on tight, and here we go. Chapter 1, Aunt May. His chiseled jawline seemed even more pronounced now with the intense look he had on his handsome face. As he walked by me with an air of resentment, I could feel the tears swelling up in my eyes. He clearly didn't want me here. Hell, I didn't even want to be here anymore either. I knew in getting into this, it wasn't going to be easy. I wasn't sure what I had expected when signing Aunt May's contract, but it definitely wasn't this. I came to be in this situation when I met Aunt May about a month ago. I had just gotten off work and was walking to my car when I noticed an elderly woman frantically rummaging around her purse. She didn't look like one of the low-income clients that we serviced at my job, yet at the moment, displayed the same sense of desperation and urgency that they tended to display. "Hi, is there something that I can help you with?" I asked the woman. It appeared she hadn't heard me when she didn't look up or respond. I took a step closer. "Excuse me, are you all right?" With that, she looked up startled. "I'm sorry, I didn't mean to scare you, but I couldn't help but notice that it appears something is wrong. My name is Lexi. Is there something that I can help you with?" I asked again. "Oh, this is so embarrassing," she remarked, still rummaging in her purse. Noticing the name brand on her purse, I knew she definitely wasn't one of our clients. I couldn't help but wonder what had transpired that had landed her here. "We all have those days once in a while. What's wrong?" I inquired further. "Well, you see, my purse had tipped over when my driver came to an abrupt stop on our way here. I had thought that I had gotten everything that had spilled out. However, it appears that wasn't the case, as I can't seem to find my phone or wallet." I couldn't help but wonder what all she kept in that large purse of hers that could cause her not to notice that her essentials were missing. "Oh no. Well, you can use my phone, if there's someone you'd like to call," I said, extending my phone towards her. "I would like to call my driver, but all my numbers are on my phone, not my head these days. I suppose that is my own fault." She responded, looking discouraged. "How about I call you a ride? I don't mind paying, seeing as how you don't have your wallet." She shook her head. "I've watched too many of those unsolved crime shows to get into a car with a stranger at my age." "Okay. Last offer because it's all I got. I could give you a ride home. I mean, if that makes you more comfortable. Like I said, my name is Lexi, and this is where I work. Anyone inside will vouch for me if that'll make you feel better." I was saying, when she cut me off, "I thought you looked familiar. I make donations and volunteer here several times a month." From there, we went back and forth for close to a half hour talking about various staff members and clients that were mutual acquaintances. She must have decided that I could be trusted after that, as she proceeded to ask, "So, are you ready to take me home? You aren't going to keep an old lady standing out here this close to dark and dinner time, are you?" She was sassy. I liked that. I could only hope that I'd be so amusing when I got to her age. As I drove her to her house, she told me of how she ended up doing volunteer work for my job and inquired as to how I came to work there. I explained that it had been a required internship back when I was in college. Upon graduation, they immediately offered me a full-time position, which I happily accepted, and have been there since. "Slow down. Take a right at the turnoff," she said, motioning to a private road that led to an array of extremely large houses. It looks like you need a security code to enter," I informed her, growing doubtful that this was the right way. She had a puzzled look on her face. "Yes, I know, dear. That's just a matter of remembering it. They always do it for me. Try 19142, she said, motioning towards the security box. I pulled forward and tried the code. It blared a loud beep, letting us know the code was incorrect. "Okay, try 19143. Again, the box screeched out a loud beep. Just then, we saw headlights coming up the road. "Hurry, reverse and park over there on the side," she instructed in a rushed tone. The way she said it made me feel like we were doing something we weren't supposed to be, and I couldn't help but wonder what I had gotten myself into. "Go, go, go! Follow that car!" she said excitedly as they entered the code and the gates opened. With no time to think it through, I did as she asked. "You do actually live here?" I asked half-jokingly. I gulped hard at her reply. "Not exactly." Had this old lady, who now had me calling her Aunt May, tricked me into breaking into a private community with her? "Just keep going straight until you get to the next security gate. Don't worry. I know that one. I set that code myself. It's my nephew's birthday. 415, she said with a wink. I felt a slight wave of relief. Maybe by some slim chance this lady wasn't crazy after all. Sure enough, a moment later, we came to a second security gate at the end of the community that led to but another private road. "This is it," she said. Her eyes were glistening with excitement. My eyes widened in dismay as we approached the only house at the end of the road. It was larger than some of the nicer hotels in the area, and boasted a beautiful wraparound porch, with a view that overlooked the entire city. I could see horse stables off in the distance, as well as another building of some sort. "Well, don't just sit there. Come in, so I can compensate you for your time and assistance," she was saying when a man in a suit approached the car and opened her door. "Oh, Walter, you'll never believe what a fool I've made out of myself today. But, thankfully, Lexi came to my rescue," she was saying when she shut her car door. They both made their way around to my side. I was a bit shocked when he opened my door. "Now, come on, dear," Aunt May prompted. "Oh, no, it's fine. I don't need any compensation, really. I'm just happy to have been able to get you home safely," I replied with a reassuring smile. "Nonsense! Then at least humor me and join me for a cup of tea before you go," she insisted with her hand on her hip. Starting to get the impression that she wasn't one to hear no very often, I agreed and followed her up to the house. Walter, her butler and driver, I suppose, opened the door for us. As we entered, a maid hurried over and took Aunt May's coat and purse. I had only brought my phone and keys, tucking them into my pocket on our way up. I was pretty sure that this was a secure enough neighborhood that I could leave my purse in the car. The maid stared at me for a moment before realizing I didn't have a purse on me and hurrying on her way. A few minutes later, the maid returned with a tray full of teacups and biscuits. As I glanced around the room, I noticed a picture of Aunt May and a handsome man. "Is that your husband?" I asked, nodding towards the picture. Aunt May glanced back before responding. "The love of my life, my late husband, Richard." "Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't—" I was starting to say when she spoke. "Don't be sorry. You've done nothing wrong. We were married for 30 magical years. I love talking about him. You could say our relationship was almost like a fairy tale." "Oh, well, then you're lucky. Mine have been quite the opposite," I said with a little laugh. She cried until she managed to get me talking about the only guy I had ever truly fallen head over heels for. The guy who was the cause of my trust issues when it came to men. She explained her past, prior to Richard, was quite similar, which made it all that much better when she had found him. She told me of her exciting adventures of her younger days, and how she grew to be the shrewd businesswoman she now was. I was completely dismayed when I glanced at my phone to discover 2.5 hours had gone by. I explained that although I was having a wonderful time, I really had to go. There was a lot I still had to do to get ready for work tomorrow. She said she understood and thanked me for coming to her rescue earlier. As she and Walter walked me out to my car, she asked if it would be all right to exchange numbers. Naturally, I agreed. I was surprised my phone rang as I was leaving work the next day. Aunt May was calling to invite me over for dinner. Feeling slightly obligated, considering this sweet, lonely old lady had no one left in this world aside from her nephew, I accepted. She informed me that she would send Walter to pick me up from my house. We had dinner together several times throughout the next 2 weeks. Each time, we talked and laughed into the wee hours in the morning. We were quickly becoming quite close. There was something about her that reminded me of both my mom and Grandma, both of whom had passed away over the last couple of years. Tonight was no different. Well, except for the fact that we weren't having another fancy home-cooked dinner by Sheila, the maid, but rather, Aunt May had a craving for pizza. As we were finishing eating, I received a phone call. Out of respect, I declined the call. Immediately, my phone began ringing again. "Go ahead, dear. Answer." "I don't mind," Aunt May said, giving me a nod of approval. I answered. It was Casey, a childhood friend. She's the type that disappears for months on end, yet always seems to resurface to check in every so often. She was upset. She proceeded to explain that she was in the hospital, not court like she was supposed to be. She was supposed to be attending a hearing to regain custody of her 3-year-old daughter. However, plans had changed when she passed out while getting ready that morning. Hours later, she awoke to find herself in the hospital bed. The news from the doctors was grave. She had a tumor that needed to be removed immediately, or she could be looking at 6 months or less to live. However, they couldn't proceed with any further form of treatment until Casey was able to provide some form of insurance or payment plan. She had been completely unaware that the father of her baby, her ex-fiance, had stopped paying for her health insurance when he took full custody of their daughter 6 months ago. She was panicking. Rightfully so, as her life was literally at stake. I told her to hang tight. I would go and try to figure out a solution now. With that, I got off the phone and told Aunt May that there was an emergency of sorts and I had to go. "Why did you take a minute to tell me what's wrong? Maybe I can help," Aunt May insisted. The tone of her voice told me she had no intention of letting me leave until she knew what was going on. I explained that Casey was a friend who had gone through a rough patch the last couple of years. Her family, mother, father, brother, and sister, had all passed away in a devastating accident shortly after her daughter's first birthday. She went down a very dark path of depression and very unhealthy coping mechanisms before she hit rock bottom. Her fiance finally broke up with her and took their daughter with him. He threatened to not let her see their daughter unless she got help. Just as she began therapy, he took her to court to take full custody of their daughter. She at that point vowed to do everything in her power to get her daughter back, and be the mom that she deserved. She had just completed a year of therapy and was finally back on her feet, ready to fight for her daughter, but she found herself in this new predicament. I explained I was going to try to see what insurance was available for her now, and how quickly we could get it. Aunt May said that that sounded like a good plan, but more needed to be done to get her the emergency surgery now. I told her I wasn't sure what else I could do. Aunt May seemed to be deep in thought for a moment before explaining, I know, I'll just pay for it. With cash in hand, they can't turn her away. That's very kind, but I can't accept that kind of money from you, I responded, feeling a bit awkward. It isn't you that needs to accept it, it's your friend, and the hospital. Are you really going to stand in the way of her getting her treatment that she needs? Besides, that's chump change to me. I didn't know what to say, but it didn't feel right having Aunt May pay for something that I was asked to help with. The only way I can agree to this with a clear conscience is if we come up with some sort of payment plan so that I can pay you back. I responded, still a bit reluctant to take her money. Okay, fine. She replied, scribbling something down on a piece of paper. Here, this is our contract. Sign it to make it valid, she said, shoving it towards me. It read that I'd make $50 payments monthly until her passing, upon which all remaining debt would be void. It was more than a fair deal, and with Casey's life on the line, I agreed. She asked for Casey's full name as well as the name of the hospital, and told me that by the time I got out of work tomorrow, everything would be taken care of. Sure enough, I received a call from Casey the next evening, thanking me and informing me that the surgery was scheduled, as well as the following round of chemo. She was informed that after the surgery, she would be going to stay out of state with her little cousin, and would be doing the chemo in a clinic there. I could hear how choked up she was saying all of this, and I knew she really appreciated it. I took some freshly baked muffins and flowers from my garden over to Aunt May to show my gratitude. She thanked me, but didn't ask me to stay as she usually did. I quickly learned she was expecting her nephew for dinner shortly. I told her that I understood and to have fun. With that, I was on my way again. Chapter 2, A Peculiar Proposition. 2 days later, I was enjoying the first leisurely Sunday morning I had had in a while, when my phone rang. Aunt May had a serious tone. She asked to see me, as she had a serious matter to discuss with me. I have a peculiar proposition for you that is not only very important to me, but very near and dear to my heart, she said with a solemn look on her face. Is everything okay? I asked, starting to feel a bit nervous. My nephew is not only my heir, but the most important person in the world to me. He, like you and I both, has had more than his fair share of heartbreak, so much so that he has sworn off women for the last year and a half. He has grown to be such a strong yet gentle man, with such a handsome smile. It just breaks my heart knowing he's not happy. He needs someone he can trust on his side, someone that will have his back no matter what. He needs a friend. Also, on the business side of life, he needs a partner. More specifically, a fiance, in order to demonstrate stability and trustworthiness to secure a long sought-after merger with either of our two strongest competitors. Neither of them will do business with a non-family-oriented business leader. If we were to secure even one of the two, it would mean not only more revenue, but more business security and free time as well, thus allowing us to expand our focus and funds. It's a merger Liam has been trying to secure for close to a year now, with no avail. Aunt May, I'm not understanding what any of this has to do with me, I questioned, taking in all the information she had just dumped on me. I'm asking if you'd grant this old lady one dying wish, and be not only the partner my nephew needs, but be Liam's fiancé as well. Wait, you're dying? I questioned, feeling a wave of emotion. No, dear. I just mean so when the time comes, I don't have to die worrying about him being all alone in this world. Relieved she wasn't dying, the rest of what she had said hit me like a brick wall. How could she ask me to all of a sudden become a total stranger's fiancé? Better yet, what kind of man would agree to an arrangement such as this? She must have seen the look on my face as she then continued. It wouldn't be a real engagement, of course. It would just need to appear as one. If after a year you truly did not care for one another, the contract would be void and you both could go your separate ways. I was attempting to think of how to respectfully decline when she continued once more. In fact, to show you how important this is to me, I'll drop the debt that you'd have been paying me monthly and instead pay you an allowance of $1,500 a month. Please just think about it, and if you find it in your heart, not only to help me out, but to take a chance on an actual good guy, you will need to sign this contract and return it to me at the office Wednesday morning. She shoved a thick contract into my hands before telling me to go home and sleep on it. It was a restless night as my mind went back and forth with reasons to both decline as well as accept her wild proposition. My inner debate team was at a standstill, and I was utterly undecided. The fact that Aunt May reminded me so much of both my mom and Grandma, both of whom had passed over the last couple years, I knew it would hurt losing her. Declining her offer would most likely mean disappointing her to the extent that it would push our friendship beyond repair. Then, there was the matter of her nephew. If he was as kind and compassionate as she described, then he deserved someone in his life who would actually have his back, even if it was as nothing more than a friend. I mean, I guess I could at least try to do that, I sleepily thought to myself. The next day, both pros and cons plagued my thoughts, and I couldn't help but think that I'd have to be insane to accept such a proposal. As soon as that thought crossed my mind, I realized Liam, Aunt May's nephew, probably was thinking the same thing. There was no way a sane man would accept this contract. That meant I could sign it, stay in Aunt May's good graces, and have nothing to worry about in the end. I breathed a sigh of relief. Wednesday came in no time. A little wave of nervousness began to envelop me as I made my way towards Aunt May's office. It'll be fine. There's no way he'll sign the contract, I reassured myself. My train of thought was interrupted as two guys made their way towards the door at the same time as me. After you, the blonde one said. I smiled. Thanks. It wasn't but a minute later that I found myself standing beside them waiting for the elevator. So, what brings you to the office? The blonde one spoke again. I can't help but feel awkward as it seemed to catch the dark-haired guy's attention, and he just stared at me intently, awaiting my response. Oh, I'm just delivering a document to a friend, I responded, not really sure how to describe what it was that I was actually doing. Not that I would have divulged such information, even if I had any idea how to do so. Gotcha, the blonde said, motioning for me to enter first as the elevator door opened. What about you guys? What brings you here? Same thing as you, dealing with some paperwork, the blonde guy responded, sticking out his hand. I'm Kevin, by the way, and this handsome giant teddy bear is my best friend. What floor? 3, I responded. The blonde guy raised an eyebrow. What a coincidence, us too. Aren't you going to introduce yourself? He said, nudging his friend towards me. The dark-haired guy then stuck out his hand to shake mine. As my hand was in his, I couldn't help but notice his strong physique. Both the guys were actually really well built and stood at about 6'1", 6'2". They both looked sharp in their nice suits. Then it hit me. My hand was still in his, and he seemed to be studying my face. Just then the elevator jolted to a stop, causing me to jerk towards him. He caught me in his arms to steady me. Thanks, I said, feeling embarrassed. I quickly turned away to exit the elevator. I was shocked when he grabbed my arm, gently tugging me back. It was nice meeting you, he said, looking deep into my eyes once again. As he raised one side of his mouth in a half smile, I can't help but blush. Kevin caught the doors just as they started to close. Want me just to get her number for you? He asked with a playful grin across his face. The dark-haired guy's smile was quickly replaced with that of a scowl. If things were different, he remarked before walking across the hallway to the front desk. My attention was drawn across the room as the door swung open. A smile beamed across Aunt May's face. I knew you would come, she exclaimed as she approached me with her arms wide open. As she hugged me, she glanced at Kevin, then around the room. Oh, Liam, you're here too. My jaw dropped. Liam? Was this him? The guy that I had convinced myself wasn't insane enough to go through with this crazy engagement? Come here, there's someone I'd like you to finally meet. Liam, this is Lexi. Well, go ahead, don't be rude, she said, pulling him towards me. He stuck out his hand to shake mine, just as he had done in the elevator. However, this time, he averted his eyes, refusing to look at me. His once handsome smile was nowhere to be found, and had been replaced with a cold, almost expressionless look. We met in the elevator, I informed her, giving a little uncomfortable smile. She nodded. Come with me to my office for a moment. I followed her into a large room full of windows that revealed a breathtaking view. I heard Liam and Kevin's footsteps coming up behind us, and seemed to stop just outside the door. Hey man, I know it's not the ideal situation, but at least she seems cool, and she's cute to top it off, I could hear Kevin saying. He then said something else that I couldn't quite make out. Okay, everything looks good. I'm gonna go over some stuff with Liam now, so let's plan for dinner tomorrow night, and we can figure out all the details then. Liam will pick you up at 6 tomorrow. Sounds good, I replied while giving her a hug before heading out of the office. Nice to meet you guys, I said with a little smile as I headed towards the elevator. Liam nodded, still avoiding eye contact. Kevin followed me to the elevator. Hey, looks like we'll be seeing a lot of each other. It's probably a good idea to exchange numbers, if that's cool with you. Sure, I replied, taking the phone he was handing to me to input my number. Thanks, see you tomorrow, he said, giving me a little pat on the shoulder as he turned back to Liam, who was now sitting with Aunt May in her office. As the elevator doors closed, my phone vibrated. It was a text from Kevin. Here's my number, make sure to save it. As I did, I couldn't help but think about how strange the change in Liam's demeanor was, from our first interaction just a short time ago to now, after learning I was the one he'd soon be engaged to. I admit the situation was awkward, but I didn't feel it was to the point that it warranted such a drastic change. After all, I had only agreed to help to please Aunt May and to try to help him out. I let out a deep breath, still attempting to grasp the reality of the situation. "Excuse me, do you work here?" A gruff voice called out as I exited the building. I spun around to see an older man in a nice suit leaning against the wall. "Oh, no, I was just dropping something off. Sorry," I responded. "I see," he replied with a smile and a nod. As I waited for the valet, the man continued to talk to me, making small talk. Once the car arrived, he thanked me for taking time to chat with an old man. I laughed and told him it was my pleasure. Chapter 3. Dinner of Details. The next day after work, I hurried home to get ready for dinner. I couldn't help but wonder how awkward it was going to be. I had just gotten out of the shower and was drying my hair when I received a text from Kevin, telling me that he was on his way. That's strange. I thought Liam was picking me up. When my doorbell rang, I grabbed my purse ready to head out. I was surprised when Kevin gave me a hug before linking his arm with mine, escorting me to a nice SUV with dark tinted windows. Such a gentleman. "Just doing my job," he replied with a bashful smile. "What exactly is your job? I thought you were Liam's best friend," I inquired, remembering what he had said in the elevator. "I am. We go way back. We've known each other since middle school. However, with my training and work background and Liam's status, we agreed that his hiring me as a personal security/driver would be beneficial for both of us." "Oh, I see. What kind of training do you have?" I pried. "Well, I can't really go into much detail, but I trained alongside one of the best sharpshooters in the world, as well as practiced martial arts since I was in my early teens. I even taught martial arts at a studio for a while." "Very impressive. I need you to teach me some martial arts so I can keep this creep at work away from me," I remarked, partly joking. "Why? What's going on at work?" I explained to him that there was this guy who worked 2 buildings down from me, who tended to linger outside of my building waiting for me to get out almost daily. It had started out innocently enough, with small talk and him walking me to my car, but then escalated to something completely different after he had asked me out on a date and I had respectfully declined. He became more forceful, attempting to put his arm around me, getting in my space, and asking me out more frequently. With every rejected attempt, he grew more and more angry. I had to be careful now of how I rejected him. I typically tried to slip away with the excuse of having something important to go do, or somewhere I was obligated to be at, as to not anger him, or it was likely that I would fall subject to another of his loud outbursts, which closely bordered verbal abuse. He recently started accusing me of thinking I was too good for him, being stuck up, and my favorite, being a closet lesbo. "Wow, this guy really sounds like he needs to be put in his place," Kevin responded, opening the back door of the SUV for me. "Wait, I can't ride up front with you?" I questioned, a bit shocked as he was attempting to put me in the back. "I mean, I guess that'd be fine this time. It's just more professional to have the person I'm driving to be in the back. That's how it usually works when you have a chauffeur." "Well, I don't want you to be my chauffeur. I have a feeling we're going to be good friends, so let's just treat it that way," I said as I walked around to the front seat. He gave a little laugh. "Okay, front it is then." We'd been talking about my job, how Aunt May and I had met, and how I came to be in this situation when I realized we were nowhere near Aunt May's house. "Hey, we aren't going to Aunt May's, are we?" "No, dinner tonight's at Liam's, where, from what I understand, you'll be moving into eventually," he replied, flashing me a little smile. It wasn't long before we came to a security gate. Kevin leaned out of the window and entered a code. Once the gates opened and we began to drive up the long driveway, I could see a nice house sitting on top of a hill. It was nothing in comparison to Aunt May's, yet still quite a bit nicer than the average home in the wealthier neighborhoods. Dinner was good, and lasted for half an hour before Aunt May declared it was time to get down to business. She reiterated the rules of the contract. There were few, and they were simple. Liam and I were to live together for a year, during which time we would maintain the facade that we were engaged. I would be required to attend all work events with him, and establish an online couple presence, to ensure our story seemed believable. We were to share a room. Wait, I don't remember reading that we would be sharing a room in the contract, I exclaimed questioningly. "Well, of course you will be. How else would you maintain the facade that you are engaged? Anyone could stop by at any given time. Don't you think it might appear odd if you were to go off and sleep somewhere else in the event Liam was stuck entertaining guests late, or you were tired? Or if someone showed up late at night for God knows what reason, and saw you two live together but not share a room? You need this to look legit from every angle." The depth in which she replied let it be known that this was not up for debate. I reluctantly nodded in agreement. Oh, and Lexi, I want to talk to you about the edit you made to the contract before you leave. She continued, shooting me a sideways look. Liam glanced at me disapprovingly. I couldn't help but wonder what I had done to cause him to dislike me so early in the game. Aunt May continued on for a while longer before calling Kevin, who had been sitting at the bar in the kitchen, over. Kevin, I'd like you to help Lexi begin packing this weekend, and after work throughout this coming week, if you don't mind. Kevin nodded. Not a problem. Okay, it's getting late. I think it's about time to call it a night. Lexi, go give Liam his hug goodnight, and I'll walk you and Kevin out. I reluctantly walked towards Liam, knowing very well the level of awkwardness that would undoubtedly be accompanying this. As I approached, he reached one arm up for a side hug as he remained in a sitting position. What are you doing, Liam? Get up and hug her properly. We can stay here for as long as it takes, Aunt May said almost scoldingly. As he stood up, he extended one arm once again, aiming for a side hug. Properly, Aunt May scolded. I reached up, wrapped my arms around his neck, and whispered in his ear. It's just a hug. Then you can go back to disliking me all you want. You might as well give her what she wants, or we're liable to end up here all night. I was surprised how quickly he wrapped his arms around me, and even more so by how tightly he pulled me in. But nothing surprised me more than when my own hand came to rest on the nape of his neck, as he leaned in, his head gently against mine. I felt him take a deep breath before pulling me in just a bit tighter. I hadn't expected the sensation that had come over me in that moment. I felt drawn to him, like I was supposed to be here, and I couldn't help but wonder if he felt it too. Was that why he was holding me so closely, and for so much longer than a normal hug would normally last? Or was he simply trying to get Aunt May off his case? My train of thought was interrupted when Kevin cleared his throat. It was another moment before Liam finally let go. As he did, our eyes met, and for a split second, he looked happy. As Aunt May walked towards the door with Kevin, the expression on Liam's face changed. Don't worry, I'll make sure you get compensated extra for that, he remarked coldly. What? I blurted out, totally caught off guard by his comment. The way he said it made me feel like he was insinuating that I was nothing more than a call girl. Everything okay over there? Aunt May called back. Yes, coming, sorry, I replied, hurrying towards her. Kevin handed me my coat, and we walked to the porch. Aunt May stopped abruptly at the edge of the porch. Now, for the matter at hand. I noticed your little edit in the contract declining the monthly sum I had agreed to give you. As she said this, I noticed a strange expression on Kevin's face. I wouldn't feel right having you cover any expenses that may arise from this little endeavor that I suckered you into, so I'm going to give you this card and put your monthly amount into the attached account for you to use in case of emergency. She continued, Aunt May, I appreciate the notion. However, if I'm going to do this, I'm going to do it because I want to help, not for a payout, I gently explained. I understand. And like I said, this card is only for emergencies. Use it if you should want to or need to. Otherwise, don't. But I'm not okay with you not accepting it. She then turned to Kevin. Here, you take it and make sure she has it when you drop her off. Kevin took the card and put it in his pocket. With that, she turned and stuck her tongue out at me. I couldn't help but laugh. She then told us goodnight and re-entered the house. Kevin again reached his arm out, linking it with mine, as he escorted me to the car. He gave me a little playful nudge. What's wrong? He asked, seeing the look on my face. Uh-huh. Oh, I'm pretty sure Liam hates me. Why do you say that? He hardly speaks when I'm around, almost always avoids looking at me, and on the rare occasion he does, it feels as though he's trying to throw daggers with his eyes. I responded as I plopped down on the passenger seat. Kevin went around and climbed into the driver's side. I admit, he has been acting differently since we met you. However, I'm fairly certain that my eyes weren't playing tricks on me tonight, and that hug seemed to be a bit more than a normal hug. I laughed. Yes, it did feel that way, but I'm fairly certain that was just a stunt to get Aunt May off his case. Well, I could say I'm happy to have you joining us at least, he said with a playful smile. Thanks. Why can't Liam be more like you? I questioned teasingly. He actually is a lot like me, believe it or not. He just has fallen victim to being used and hurt by others, and as a result, is a bit more guarded. Seeing I was still unhappy with the situation, he put his hand on mine and gave it a little squeeze. Just then, he excitedly pulled his hand away and reached out to turn up the radio. A popular song had come on. He started to sing along. I couldn't help but smile. Come on, he said, nudging me, wanting me to join in. I did. We sang and laughed until we arrived at my house. He helped me pack over the course of the next week. As the week drew near an end, I felt like I had known him forever. As we loaded up the SUV with my shoes, clothes, and essentials that I'd be going to Liam's house, I watched the movers load the other truck with my furniture and the rest of my belongings that would be going to storage. It was then that the reality of the situation finally hit me. This was the end of my old, comfortable life, for the next year anyway. I took a deep breath and tried to shake the nervousness enveloping me as I watched Kevin drive away. He was going to drop off that load of stuff at Liam's house, then come back for me and my last few belongings. We'll pick up next time with Chapter 4, Liam.